Hi, everyone, and welcome back to the Business of Business podcast, Two Daughters and Their Dad. I'm your host, Staci J. Dempsey, and I'm here, like always, thankfully, with the other daughter, but not the only daughter, and the one and only dad. Bump. Good morning, good afternoon to the both of you.
Good morning.
Good morning, good afternoon, everybody.
So here we are once again. We are rolling close to summer and close to, spring is upon us. Nice weather, at least here in Jersey, and things are coming up brand new. And so we are here to talk about the new ways, or maybe the new mindset, as Jennifer has previously stated, the new mindset on hiring versus recruiting and what's the difference. And I know that Jennifer has been doing a transformation of how she is bringing and inviting people into her business. And also, I have recently gone through a little bit of a transformation, certainly a mindset, maybe even a little emotional transformation as well, learning the difference firsthand of how we need to hire versus how we can recruit people into our business. And for me, it'd be recruiting people or a person into a nonprofit that I serve. So Jennifer, why don't you start us off a little bit? Because before we hit record, you were talking a little bit about, there's differences, difference in hiring nowadays is different than like when we were looking to get a job, right? It's definitely different since dad has been looking, when he was looking for his first job. And for me, what a total shocker and also maybe a giant thorn in my side it was, because I personally wasn't prepared. And that I was going into it thinking, oh, I'll do it the way it was kind of done when I was trying to be hired. And that failed for me pretty miserably in the beginning. So why don't you share with our listeners a little bit about, what it takes to have a changed mindset around hiring and recruiting?
Yeah, I'll tell you, I'm coming up on 8 years in business. And, in the past, I have made like these flyers and now hiring, and I've gone to beauty schools, and, I've worked through these traditional ways and maybe a little bit more creative ways on hiring, and really just being consistent about now hiring until recently. And so I feel like when I, had that mindset of I'm always hiring, now hiring, it was just inviting anyone into the space, right? Anyone into my business. And most did not work out. Most people I did not hire. So recently I've kind of changed my mindset around hiring instead of hiring more recruiting. So a couple years ago, you would probably see me push out these flyers and social media things about now hiring. Now I try to focus on educating any potential stylists that I would invite into my business about the benefits of working with us. So now it looks more of like 5 reasons why you want to work at J Faith Hair Studio. So just changing the verbiage from now hiring to me really promoting why and what we offer to attract. I think sometimes, at least for me in my business, it kind of seems like desperate when it's like, you guys are always saying you're hiring. And now it's really just trying to explain to people what we have to offer and hopefully attract the right kind of stylist to our business. And I think it takes, when you go into that recruitment mindset, it's about always having that at the top of your mind of looking for, the next potential person you would want to work inside of your business. And thankfully, technology works well in that department, especially for me and my business. So really, I'm using Instagram as a tool, right? I don't know if you guys are on the hair side of Instagram, but I surely am. And there's lots of talented hairstylists out there. So instead of me waiting for hairstylists to come to me, I'm going to them. And so I'm putting out all of this, content of why it's so great to work for me and our salon, but I'm also sending them personalized messages, personalized videos of me saying, "Hey, I've noticed you. I've noticed your work. I think you're extremely talented. And I want to let you know that, J Faith Hair Studio is hiring. I would love to meet you." And listen, even when I started doing that, I was so uncomfortable, right? This is like we're talking outside of anything I've ever done before. So again, a lot of responses was like, "Hey, I'm happy where I am. I'm flattered. Thank you for the compliment." And so for me, right in this moment, it's really just about building community, right? And it's not about stop working over there and come work for me. It's about, "Hey, I noticed you. I think you're talented. This is what I have to offer." If it's not now, maybe it's in the future. So really focusing on building relationships through recruitment and just being you know supporting the community of hairstylists that we have. And if it works out, great. If it doesn't, then that's okay too. I can still cheer from them from afar. But you just never know really what's going to happen. So I just remember, there's just this huge shift for me that it's like, I hope somebody reads my ad, I hope somebody applies. And it's like, why am I hoping for something to happen? I need to go out and get it done. And that's really the mindset behind recruitment. And definitely still learning, and I'm definitely still nervous and scared about it. But it's like this very empowering feeling. Again, one more thing inside of your business that you want to take control over instead of just hoping something happens. And I think that's the big difference between hiring and recruitment. When you're hiring, you're hoping someone applies. When it comes to recruitment, you're going out and finding the talent you want inside of your business.
Very well said, Jen. I mean,
Yeah.
and honestly, as you're saying that, kind of what I think of is, at least here in the Northeast, we have these, stores called Wawa, and it's like a giant convenience store with gas. And anytime, not that I go in there that often, but the times I do go in, there is always a sign right as you walk in the door that says hiring. And basically, what they are, in my opinion, they're professing is they're like, "We hope you see this flyer. We hope you like these things. We're going to give you a free hoagie every shift. We're going to give you this much per hour. We're going to give, and they list out like, this is all the stuff we're going to give you. Fingers crossed you see all of this. And then you go to our app and you fill out all your information, and fingers crossed that, like it's all, like you said, it's all this hoping, and also kind of like just putting it out there of like, this is all the stuff we're going to give you. Let us give this to you, rather than what you're saying is, "Hey, this is what we have here. Let me acknowledge, let me find the person or people that I think that would fit into what we already have here. Let me just tell you about that." And I think that's very powerful. And Dad, I know over the years, you've worn the hat of obviously hiring slash recruiting for our office, but also recruiting for agents, which is different than support people, teammates that need to be in the office for the daily things. So maybe you can talk a little bit about that from your perspective of hiring for office rather than even recruiting for like an agent.
Well, first of all, I think that one of the things that we want to make sure we're differentiating here too is the type of business that you have. So, and your example, Staci, of Wawa and the convenience store, and again, you're completely right on. I mean, everyone you walk into, they have that display. But I will say, that's also a business that they're going to expect, probably quite a bit of turnover, just
Good
because of the
point.
type of work it is. I mean, obviously they have a lot of jobs that certainly can be career opportunities, but there's also a lot that would fall into that kind of transition type of jobs to, something, more. And so I think, when it comes to hiring, there are businesses that is the approach you have to take. Just because, again, you're not looking for, your business isn't really designed for something that, where people ultimately are going to make and look to make their career there. Maybe because it's a lower paying job, or minimum wage type job, that type of thing. So the approach to hiring is probably the correct one there. But when you're looking at jobs like, or positions like Jennifer's referring to in her salon, like we look to here, where it's, we're looking for people who want to come in and make a career here. We want them to come in and feel like they can be here for all their working years, so to speak. And so obviously we just don't want to put a sign out on the front of the building, saying hiring, hiring, hiring. Because, we definitely want to be much more selective, in terms of, who we hire, and the type of, background, education, and those kind of things that we would expect that person, to have. Not that the roles here necessarily need people with PhDs by any stretch, or even 4-year degrees in a lot of cases, but certainly someone that has a pretty, sound education and background. And then, of course, in Jen's case, you have where, you have to be licensed, you have to have credentials in order to work, in that field. So that's going to really, those types of positions are going to definitely push you more towards, recruiting, rather than, just posting a sign for hiring. In our particular case, you're right, Staci, we have really kind of a two, lanes that we run in for our recruiting. And that is one more on the back office, customer service type of role. And then you have the role of, agent, producer, salesperson, which is, again, another opportunity in what we're doing here. So in both of those cases, we would be looking more at a recruiting approach, but probably different. Obviously, with someone who we're looking to bring in sales, we're going to be looking for a certain personality there, or in a certain background, and just attributes that would lead us to believe that they could do well, in a sales position, where, again, their compensation is going to be a direct result of their efforts. Where, then you have someone on the support role, again, still need someone who can get licensed, can have good communication skills, and, again, a lot of traits and attributes that would lead them to be very effective in that role. So when we're so the recruiting is always going to be, like Jennifer explained, always kind of, again, going back to hiring, there are points when, you're hiring and then you're not hiring. You have all the positions filled, and so you kind of back off. But when you have that recruiting approach, it's almost like it's ongoing, right, Jen? It's something that is always happening, and it's not something you really turn on and turn off. So for example, in the customer service role here, we oftentimes will recruit because we have an opening or a potential opening. And so a recent example is we had, we hired someone into one of our departments, brought them on, and then unexpectedly we had someone who was more seasoned in that department, decide that, they were going to be moving away, and, so we were going to be, losing them potentially. So what was nice is, because of the ongoing recruiting that we've been doing over the years, we had a pool of candidates to reach back out to. We didn't have to start over again And so, so again, because of that, we had some really quality people. Now, we didn't know if they were still available. And luckily, the one that we liked the most was still available, so that was an easy find because they were in our talent pool, so to speak, so yeah, there's definitely that on and off, I think, is a big differentiator between um, hiring and recruiting. Hiring can be, all right, we're hiring now, and then we fill a position, we stop hiring. Recruiting is almost like an ongoing, you're putting, your uh, value proposition out there as an organization. You're showing what kind of career path a person could have, within your organization, how you might potentially invest in them to be, you know, in their career so that they have opportunities for growth in the future. Those are all the things that you want to really put on display in a recruiting situation or recruiting mindset. Hiring mindset, here's what it is per hour. Here's some additional perks along the way, like you said, depending upon the business. It's like, you know, all right, you work at Rita's Water Ice, and here's what you get paid an hour, and you get a free water ice every shift. Yeah,
Yeah.
I mean, Rita's has a great business model, so I'm certainly not, looking down on them at all. But those are the kind of things that you would have more in that hiring mindset.
Yeah, and I think for, either, someone that's looking to get into business, newly into their own business, or maybe even those that maybe have been in business for a long time, just the thought of like, maybe I have been going about this not completely wrong, but that there's just a new perspective that, maybe 15 years ago in your business, hiring and having that sign out front or posting it, and maybe that worked, but everything is always evolving, and I think for, even for some of the clients that I work with, they're quickly realizing that if they don't necessarily want to have a big turnover, or a lot of turnover, that they really are becoming more honed in on what what they really need from someone in a position, and they're being, like you said, Dad, they're being much more selective. They're okay with saying, you know what, I could interview someone, try to recruit them, but this just isn't the person. Whereas maybe before they would jump into, okay, someone showed up and applied, let's just hire them, and felt like they were more under the gun. I know recently in my nonprofit work, the board was tasked with hiring a new ED that had recently resigned, and quite frankly, myself as well as the board, we went into it with the wrong mindset. We went into it knowing that we had a very specific position that needed to be filled. One position, not 10 positions of the same kind of like work, but we had one position. And so we kind of did the indeeds of the that were out there that were available to us. And although technology can serve our business and our efforts so well at times, and we spent a lot of time in that program really picking all the right bullet points of what we needed someone to be, and what the job was like, and what we were able to offer. um Ran everything through AI for the best description and all of that. um it was met with a lot of frustration on my part because, quite honestly, we were positioning ourselves probably out to people that were looking at the position as like, you know what, this might be a great time for me to completely change my career, and maybe they'll be willing to take me, because I have no, even though they're saying I need all of these qualifications and experiences would be great, I'm just gonna flood. I mean, there would be days that I would get 25 resumes, and I'm thinking, all right, that new ED is in this batch. And then when I would start scrolling through, and some of my other board members were like, this just and then I would get to interviewing, actually getting on a 20-minute Zoom, and I was finding that, you know what, we were failing miserably at trying to find the right person to not only fill the position and the role that we needed, but also somebody that was going to already be somebody that was going to be able to incorporate themselves into our already established culture. That we were not looking for anyone to come in and change what was, change anything, because quite frankly, that nonprofit, it has been working beautifully without having an ED. Now, again, that's multiple reasons there. There's multiple support people, but we were not necessarily in a desperate position. And that's what I felt like after about 3 weeks. Like, this is not working. And this feels like we are now in a very desperate situation. And just anybody is going to hire and just continue to suck up all of our time. And so, at least in our case, the board decided to not continue with that path, but to focus more on the relationships that the board members had, the relationships that our current teammates that are walking out our mission every single day. They're showing up to that office, cooking the food, getting the food out to the clients, working, sharing what we were looking for in someone with those, with our current relationships. And after about a week and a half or so, another board member said, "Hey, you know what? I had someone that I talked to. She sent her resume. I think we need to take a look at it." And it was such a breath of fresh air, because we were now not in a very desperate situation, but we were going off of some type of connective tissue that someone in our organization had, that we could spend the time to say, "Hey, I know a little bit about you because of someone else that's in our nonprofit who we like and who we trust." And so we were able to approach it much differently. And thankfully, again, and in all of that, certainly my mindset changed of, hopefully, there'll be someone else at the reins when maybe a new ED needs to be hired. But now at least I can leave a footprint of, hey, when this role opens, or another role in our organization opens up, these are the steps that worked the last time. Possibly they'll be relative when that happens again. Maybe they'll need to be tweaked with a little bit of a change of a mindset, but to have connective tissue within your business, is just so incredibly important. And that is really what has propelled us into a new ED that everyone is excited about. Someone that is not only checked all the boxes off, but checked off some boxes that we actually didn't realize we probably needed. Um, but to kind of round all of this out, like Jennifer and Dad have said, it's, the mindset that happened, the change in mindset that happened, we would have never gotten to where we were or where we are now if we had continued on just trying to make something work. It would have just been more frustration. We probably would have hired the wrong person, and we'd have been starting the process all over again. And so, certainly a very, I'm glad that I had the experience, but much different, so much different than, when I was out trying to trying to be hired and find a job, or even interviewing with Dad for the for the career that I have now. Just to, just a little bit, just much different than, oh God, 20 years ago, I guess, when I was looking for a job. And so,
Well, I just, in thinking about what you just described there with that experience, that is another place that we have found success. So when you have that recruiting, don't be afraid to share it, with your team. Share it with other, because quite honestly, some of the best hires that we've made have come from referrals from existing team, part of the team. And, so again, that's a big part of that, whole recruiting mindset is putting it out there. And who better to recruit for you than, an employee who's, understands the system, understands your culture, and can really share, from experience and not, be talking to someone who's, a person can think, well, of course you're going to be painting that picture, of your business. So how do you do that, Jen? How do you network within your own sphere of influence?
Yeah, I think it's different because in our world it's like it's so easy to um have like feel that competition, right? So or have like, oh, you work over there, so I don't want anything to do with you. Um so I think it's just a change in like mentality when it comes to community. And instead of like businesses being in competition, why can't businesses network and work together? And just because, maybe a hairstylist doesn't necessarily work in my culture in my business doesn't mean that they wouldn't be the right fit for the salon down the street. So really it's a new mindset, and it's something that, you know, in the beauty industry we're trying to promote. So it is easier. A big thing in our business is non-compete agreements, and they are going away. So again, instead of being like so in control, like I own these employees, it's just this new mindset of like community. And like I said, so when I'm out talking to other hairstylists, obviously recruiting, um, it's not all about, hey, I want you to come work for me, but it's just really about building a stronger network of other hairstylists in the community, whether we work together today or in 5 years. And I think that type of mindset is just more of like a growth mindset instead of trying to be so in control. And so we definitely have a lot more work to do, but we're opening up to just a different way of recruitment in 2024. As you guys are talking, I'm thinking about, you've been really successful, Dad, with having really long-term employees. And so it's something we talk about in the salon is, you know, we feel like at one point people were really proud to say, and it was a really big accomplishment to say, like, I've worked for this company for 25 years. And so something has changed. And I think it's important for us to understand that something has changed. I think, with the next generation, the next kind of group of people that we're hiring inside of our businesses, it's very much of like, let me work here, get what I get from this place, and then I'm kind of looking for what's next, what's better, right? So if we understand that that's what's happening, um, when we're recruiting, why can't business owners be the same way, right? And so we feel like we have, of course, we want to be loyal to our employees and reward our employees and be grateful for people that are with us for 20 years. But when you're constantly in that mindset of recruitment, it's okay to continue to look for that next person that's going to come into your business. Or maybe even for you, Dad, I know you have quite a few people that retire from working for your business, which is says so much about your business. I think it's great. So just being able to kind of continue to plug people in that you think is a good fit, not necessarily people that are I really want to work at Dempsey Waste. It's about who you think is the best fit, and building kind of that community, that pool of people that you can bring inside of your business. And so really when we started talking about this topic, it's been such a huge change, such a huge mindset change for me, because again, I've done things both ways. And I also want to say Indeed is still a good tool. So don't take from this podcast that we think you should not be using Indeed. I've
Oh,
hired
yeah.
from Indeed before. I think again, just my advice when it comes to hiring and recruitment is that you have to continue to understand what's going on in the world, and being creative within the hiring process. There's not just one way to do it, not one way to just use Indeed or just post a now hiring sign. You can kind of take that control back and go out and look for employees that you want inside of your business. And that's okay.
Yeah,
Absolutely.
I was going to say just that, when we talk about, recruiting, certainly you want to utilize all the tools that are out there, for, um, you know, bringing talent in. I think, you know, I think it's more about taking those things that are out there, Indeed, LinkedIn, those kind of tools where, again, are very effective ways to promote your business and then also to recruit. But make sure with that you're kind of looking at that we would almost call like that local aspect of things where it's like, okay, I'm going to make sure I'm also talking to my team. Maybe I'm also sharing this with, certain clients or customers, and so, you're just not relying strictly on those hiring sites. That those things are kind of working, you know, all the time, but you also have these other aspects of the recruiting and because again we've certainly brought people in from from those sites and have had some success there, but so yeah, we're not beating anything up, we're just saying just don't rely, I think we're saying just don't rely totally on them,
Right.
because that can be a very onerous approach to recruiting and hiring.
I want to tell you guys a story real quick, and I'm hoping Stacy is like impressed that I know this about her. But we first
Oh God.
back in January, we had it at a local trampoline park, and we're there, right? We're doing the birthday party. It's on the weekend, and so guys, don't think that we're always business, right? Like we have birthday parties for our kids and stuff. But so it's towards the end of the party, and I'm helping Stacy. We're wrapping things up, and we had someone who worked the party, right? Somebody that worked at the trampoline park, worked my next birthday party, and so we're getting ready to leave, and I kind of turn around, and Stacy approached that person that was working in the birthday party. Now I don't know exactly what you said to her, Stacy, but I did hear, hey, listen, you were fabulous. Thank you so much. I'm sure you gave her a great tip. I think, listen, we have an insurance agency. I think you would be a great fit. Here's my card. I would love to talk to you. And so in that moment, I was just very impressed because I think that, um, just kind of looking, I'm so in my industry and so in my world. And so just kind of looking at what you guys do kind of inspires me sometimes to be like, that's what you got to do. Like, that's like, you know what? We were focused on my nephew's birthday and something must have clicked in your brain in those 3 hours we were there that you made that, offer to her. But that's what it kind of takes is like, yeah, there's all these things that we could be doing, but don't forget when you're out in the world and you're in those moments, there's so many beautiful opportunities that we could overlook. And sometimes, even I'm sure you made the girls' day at the end of the day too, of just but so it's those touches too. So again, there's no one way to hire or recruit inside a business. We're just out here telling you guys what has worked, what doesn't work for us, and it's really just about all these little things combined, um, when it comes to inviting new employees inside of your business.
Well, Jen, that's interesting because we have someone on our team now that for years worked in a local bank that that we that's where we did our banking here in the business, and was always very impressed with this gentleman and how he approached things. And when some changes happened in the bank and he was going to be transitioned out, we just jumped all over that
Right.
and hired him, and and he's doing a great job. He's been with us, probably 6 or 7 years now.
Oh, wow.
So, again, that's that observation that you're talking about. And then recently we did an event, an education event for a group of clients, and and we had it at a venue that, and one of the ladies there who was, setting up and kind of running, serving us, and, doing all the hospitality stuff for the meeting, was just really impressive. And I didn't say anything, but I thought to myself, wow, boy, that would be someone I would really like to talk to about a position, just the way she just handled herself there. So just to your point, those are those are observations that, as entrepreneurs, you always need to kind of be on point with.
Yeah. Are you impressed? I remember that, Stace.
I'm so impressed. And just for our listeners, I just want to clarify, I did not offer the young lady a job on site. I said to her, thank you so much for all the ways that you have helped for us to have a great birthday party for my son. I really appreciate it. I want to give you my business card. I don't know what you have planned, you know, but we have an opportunity with my family owned insurance agency. So if you take a look at our website, take a look at my social media, feel free to reach out to me in any way you feel comfortable. And I'd love to tell you a little bit more about it. And so now I have not heard from her, but that doesn't mean I won't ever hear from her,
Right.
because you're right, Jen. I think that, she was, I think she was very surprised. I think she was very thankful that, someone even just pointed out that I felt like she went above and beyond. And so again, there might be 5 years from now, that might be the connective tissue that everything makes sense. And maybe for all we know, she might be the next great hire of the Dempsey kids. You never know. So how about it? But so with all of that said, we want to thank our listeners so much for tuning in. We want to thank you. We hope that today has been somewhat helpful, insightful, maybe changed your mindset just a little bit. And so until we can be together in our next episode, be kind to each other and be kind to yourself. And we will talk to you guys soon. Bye.